We're talking with Michael Stewart, who is a lecturer in English at Brown University, who teaches a course on digital nonfiction in a way that I think of as co-learning. So tell us about the course, Michael.
So the course is it's part of two courses. There's a multimedia essay course and a digital nonfiction course. And in this, we explore how our stories are changed by digital environments. What sort of opportunities do digital environments give us? So we look at some of the traits of the digital, the temporal, the scrolling, anything, the ability to comment on each other's work. So this sort of community, recommendatory text, it doesn't really matter. And we explore each element, and then the students play with that element in projects, trying to create more aggressive ways of telling their stories.
So this is not uh, digital storytelling. This is about the affordances of digital media as they exist today for nonfiction. How do your students react to that uh, approach?
Well, I mean, at first, there's a little bit of a deer in the headlights look because we use a vast array of tools and things to play with. So, obviously, a lot of the work is online, but some of it's, using Arduinos or things of this. So that there's a physical interaction with the world, or there's Google Glass or an iPhone app. And so, a lot of the students who come in are English majors and may not have any experience coding or looking at the insides of a computer. And so, it can be a little frightening at first, but then it's just this opportunity. Once they start seeing how just a little bit of knowledge here gives them this vast array of options, they get very enthusiastic.
Can you give me some examples of the kind of imaginative innovation that comes out when they understand what the options are for
Oh, yeah,
nonfiction?
absolutely. So, one student recently, she works with Parkinson's patients. And so she wanted to tell a story that was their story, but she found that like it was difficult for us to as healthy bodied individuals to understand some of their struggles. So what she did is she built a small room. We got her a little space in a museum, and in this room, there's a couch, a table with some keys on it, various things like this. And as you move through the room and interact, so let's say you sit on the couch, a pressure sensor activates a story. So you start hearing the story of a Parkinson's patient dealing with tying their shoes every day. Or when you get their keys, you hear the story of these keys. And so your interactions with the room are mirrored with a sort of narrative from the Parkinson's patient. So that would be one using a physical digital interaction. Others have been, I had one student, she wore a webcam for something like 2 months and recorded every 10 seconds of her life to talk about this sort of narcissistic selfie culture. And that was surprisingly interesting and odd. So they go in all different directions. Some code web pages. There was a defense for fish. She was very upset with how goldfish were treated. Most of them tends to suffocate. And so she built this very interactive, large scale web project that people could move through and sort of get more information about.
So we've been talking about using digital media to create nonfiction projects.
Mhm.
What about how do the students react to the kind of co-learning that seems to be involved? I noticed in your syllabus that you encourage the students to comment on each other's blogs
Mhm.
and projects, and in some ways that runs a little bit counter to their training, their schooling in being taught rather than learning cooperatively. How
Yeah,
do you frame that for students and how do they react?
well, I think it's a key element to the class. It's the only reason the class works. They're going in so many different directions that they need to learn how to frame their own work to communicate it to somebody else. So that's part of the blog post. And then that communication back is it's the only way they really get these different views and different eyes. If they only have my eye coming into it, their project's going to be one dimensional. But if they have 15 different people looking at it, commenting, they figure out one, how to tell their own story about their story, how to document their process, certainly. But they also start to see that there are many levels to their story than what we would normally talk about. One student may not be very good at coding, but might have a great understanding of like how characters work. And so all these different voices coming in, it also creates a community where they start to trust each other, where they start looking for each other's comments, where they start writing the project much less about the grade, but to show off for each other. Oh, look what I did. Isn't this exciting? And that wouldn't happen if they didn't have this constant communication together.
I know from experience that that kind of cooperative learning doesn't just happen. How do you frame it and how do they react to it?
Well, the first day I try and express how important it is because often they see it as this extra thing they have to do, right? Oh, that's more work. I've got to look at everyone's project and write about it. And so my enthusiasm, I hope, helps. I express how important I think this is, and then I model that. So I go online, I look at their work, I comment on it, I bring that into class. Whenever someone comments on something and does so in an interesting and valuable way, I bring that back up in class so that they don't feel like it's just this thing happening off in the ether that nobody's noticing. And then I give them an opportunity to sort of express their own gratitude for how everyone's helping them. So when we do in-class workshops, often their first comment is, "Oh, I was going in this way, but then, Gabby helped me with this, or, Nietzsche showed me this thing." And, they start to realize how important their comments are. And as soon as they see that value, then the investment is there.
What kind of advice might you have for other English teachers who want to start taking this approach? How do you start thinking about it? Other than looking at your syllabus, which is quite extensively described.
Well, thank you. I think it's a matter of small steps. There are many tools out there that start to allow you to collaborate. Something as simple as a blog post or something as simple as Google Documents allows multiple people to come in and edit. And so you could do traditional editing that you would normally take class time for and move it outside of the class time. Therefore, giving you more time in class to focus on what you can only uniquely do together in that environment. And these simple steps, I think, sort of start to show you what the possibilities are. I mean, I wouldn't dive in all the way because then you're going to have some technical problems here and there, which are certainly going to come up, and they can sometimes push people away from exciting opportunities.
What are you planning for the future?
Oh, well, we're building this multimedia course, which I'm very excited about, and we're having we're moving to become more incorporated with the Grant Off, which is another organization here at the school, to open up the tools that the students can use. So having maker spaces, having other instructors come in to teach specific specialized areas. I'm excited to see what the students will do when we give them more tools.
Can you tell me a little bit about the multimedia course?
So the multimedia course steps away from the digital to some degree. It's certainly still in the digital world, but it says all of these digital elements that we're looking at have analog counterpoints. Scrolling with scrolls, recombinatory text. We could look at tarot. Any of these things we see, we can find analogs to. And so I want them to play with both. So how does the temporal nature of marginalia mirror what's going on with a blog post? And so they start to play with these multiple medias, and hopefully that reveals something new that they wouldn't see. They sometimes get excited about the gimmick of the digital, and I kind of want to move away from that.
Well, I'm interested in how this evolves. Maybe we can talk again in a couple of years about what happens next.
Oh, that would be so exciting. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
Well, have a lovely day.